Welcome to the Sunday Brunch with Ben and Ned. I'm Ned.
I'm Ben.
That works out quite well.
It does.
If you're seeing this show for the first time, congratulations. You found the most hard-hitting, controversial, spiritually uplifting, and enlightening, entertaining show that Ben and I have ever done together.
Yeah, and it's gonna blow your mind.
On YouTube.
Right off.
And like us on Facebook.
Sunday Brunch with Ben and Ned. Find us there on Facebook. Keep up with our new shows and videos, and you'll be glad you did.
You know,
Let's bring in some sponsorship dollars here today. We're promoting Sam Adams Oktoberfest. It's the brew of the day. It's delicious.
The brew for spiritual enlightenment and political discord.
Speaking of political discord, just the other day was September 11th.
Yes.
The 13-year anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and that brings up a lot of stuff for me. You have thoughts on that, man?
It does, and we're going to talk about in this segment questioning everything.
The official story, the beliefs that were handed down to us. Question your own thoughts. You better not believe all that's going on in there.
Question anything that, you know, a lot of people can relate to that as far as religion. You know, they've moved away from the religion and spiritual beliefs that they were raised with. But can you do that with other things? And why do we believe what we believe? Is it just because we were taught that, and just because we were expected to believe that? Why do those people, the terrorists, hate us? Is it because we are rich? You know, we, United States, they hate us because of our freedom. That was kind of a message that George W. Bush.
Because of our freedom, because of our religion. That's kind of the official story.
I question that right away.
Sure.
I think people are angry at Americans in general because of our aggressiveness around the world, the military aggressiveness around the world, involvement in all sorts of political and military involvement on small scales to big scales. So I think that's why people hate us. Mm-hmm. There's other questions.
And, you know, there's a big question about do people hate us?
Yes, they do.
Who are the terrorists?
Who are they?
You know, are they CIA trained operatives? Or does the United States government even have a hidden hand behind the scenes there with these so-called Arab terrorist groups? Where do they get their guns and ammunition? I mean, there's a lot of questions to be looked into.
Yes. Who created and trained Al-Qaeda in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Osama bin Laden, trained and hailed as a leader for the United States back in Afghanistan against the Soviet threat. You know, people, that's common knowledge.
Armed them and trained them against the Soviet threat, and then once that threat passes, they had to find a new purpose, didn't they?
Yeah. So what other questions are there around the 9/11 attacks?
Around 9/11. Well, one big question is why did the number 7 building fall? A building that wasn't hit by a plane, a building that fell, as footage shows, in free fall time. You know, the official story says that fires weakened the foundation and eventually the weight just caused it to collapse. But that, I think, it's pretty clear to common sense, and it's pretty clear to science and architectural engineering that wouldn't cause a building to just drop at the speed of if you just dropped a rock, free fall speed. That can only happen if all supports are removed and taken away simultaneously, which can only happen through controlled demolition.
So we're getting into territory of wacko conspiracy theory, and yet it's not so marginalized. Just last week, this was showing up on mainstream news.
On C-SPAN, they had a fellow from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, which is a whole movement that's been going on since the beginning. But more than 2,000 professional, you know, educated, intelligent architects and engineers who have been shown footage, shown evidence, shown facts that are causing them to not just doubt the official story, but to throw it right out completely, that it could not have happened that way.
Wow. So so question those things. We're not, I don't think Ben or I are taking a strong stance about that, but at least we're willing to question these, the given story.
Indeed. Another question is the people that didn't show up to work that day. And now I don't have facts or sources that I can cite here, but you know, the World Trade Center is a huge business complex with major corporations having their headquarters and offices there. And on the day of the attacks, when so many lives were lost, there were an awful lot of high-ranking officials that were conveniently absent that day.
I hadn't heard about that one, but it does make you wonder.
Yeah, the death toll did not include any CEOs
Wow.
that I'm aware of, which is just interesting. It's all very
Because
interesting.
they're smart. They're smart. Just they're in touch with intuition somehow.
Okay, that's one possibility that we could entertain.
Well, so what else are we questioning? Unless we're still on the 9/11, what other realms?
We can question everything that happened in the aftermath of 9/11, particularly the United States aggressive military retaliation, quote unquote, and just the whole United States foreign policy and aggressive military tactics throughout history.
Yeah.
The last 50, 60 years
Sure.
at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Why did we need to go into Afghanistan to get them, and who are they that was being gotten? Why Iraq after that, which had nothing to do with that? I guess the theory was the nation of Iraq harbored and trained terrorists leading up to the 9/11 attack. But didn't the United States harbor and train the people who actually flew the planes? Most of that training and harboring took place in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So
The original training and harboring.
shouldn't we invade the United States? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots and lots of questions there.
And you know, we have a lot of friends that are philosophically and just intuitively against the war, but even they have difficulty asking some of these questions and looking into the U.S. military. We have a strong cultural belief in patriotism,
Yes.
and even if you're against violence and war, you've got to support the troops.
Gotta support the troops.
And what does that mean? And why do you have to support the troops?
That was my question.
Well,
You stole it.
I hijacked it.
That's all right. Oh, we used to hijack on the 9/11 discussion. Did you do that on purpose?
I did.
Snap.
I did.
Wow. And so, yeah, you gotta support the troops. Why? Well, because they're risking their lives to defend something. Well, what are they defending? Our freedom, the basic rights of Americans. All right. Well, what if? And this is just a question to ask. What if their actions are doing nothing to defend our freedom and our rights? What if their actions? What if joining the military results in a net loss of our freedom, our safety, and our rights? Just ask that question. Are you willing to ask that question? It's scary to ask that question.
It is.
It can be deemed unpatriotic.
And if in fact we are hated throughout the world, as I've heard it postulated, maybe that's because we have so many young men and women who are willing and gung-ho to sign up for military service to go and they wouldn't call it invading, but the fact is we are sending soldiers into other countries and foreign territories in an aggressive way. They're shooting, they're fighting. That sounds like an invasion to me.
I remember seeing a story of someone who had dirt shipped from the United States, from his backyard, and made a base over wherever he was stationed, Afghanistan, of dirt, like a few square feet of U.S. soil, so that he could feel at home like he's on U.S. soil. Well, doesn't that just point out you're not defending U.S. soil, except for that 3-foot square? you are on foreign land defending us.
Uh-huh.
Kind of, well, anyway, I can get really worked up over that. And all I really want to do is encourage people to question the what if and why. Well, why do we need to unquestionably, why are young kids so encouraged to join the military?
And again, a great question is, what are they defending really? And it seems to me that what the United States military is really protecting is more like corporate interests.
Banking interests, corporate interests, oil, the petrodollar.
Mm-hmm. They're defending, so to speak, a certain lifestyle, but it's not the freedom of the average, everyday American working man. They're defending the lifestyle of the wealthiest elite who are profiting from trading and investment on an international scale. That is the interest that they're there in the Middle East protecting and defending.
And when I say the petrodollar, I mean in different countries that are willing to trade and use the U.S. dollar as their kind of standard of international exchange. So we'll buy your oil, but pay for it in U.S. dollars, and that's countries outside the United States. Well, it serves the purpose of the bankers in the United States and Europe, as long as that still takes place in U.S. dollars and not in yuan or even euros or other currency or gold.
Mm-hmm.
So when a government like in Libya starts to question that and maybe seek to trade in some other currency, well, lo and behold, that's when the rebels need to win. That's when the United States says, we're going to defend these rebels. We're going to,
Yeah, then that leader suddenly gets rebranded as a dictator,
Right.
and then who were formerly the rebels now become
freedom fighters.
freedom
The
fighters,
freedom
a popular uprising, and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
And if it's a group of rebels that fighting against a government that is in our advantage, then those rebels are terrorists. That's what it kind of comes down to. What if?
And as some kind of closing thoughts and questions for this half of the segment, how is it that the average person who's not enrolling in the military or doing anything to consciously perpetuate that lifestyle, how is it that we can make a difference? How is it that we can maybe withhold our support? How can we be proactive about bringing an end to that kind of aggression and violence and oppression?
What can we do to be positive for peace and not just anti-war? That's a good question. I need to ask myself, because I tend to get caught up in they're wrong, that's what's wrong, that's what the problem is. Well, what is the solution?
And I think maybe the first step is what we're doing right now, is just asking those tough questions. And then, not just about what's going on out here, but turn it around and look at your own life, your own habits, and your own belief system.
Do I sense a teaser coming on?
And ask those questions. This is a beautiful segue
Yeah.
into the next half of our show, which we're going to be taking a look at our personal belief systems, especially our religious and spiritual belief systems, and it's going to be good.
Question everything.
Question everything.
So that's come back. Click on the link or whatever it is to find your way to part 2 of today's show here on Sunday Brunch with Ben and Ned.
We'll see you right after the break.